Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that. But don't fret, we've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's a new week of CinemAddicts. This is CinemAddicts episode 255. We are covering movies that are coming out for the week of Friday, August 16th, 2024. The movies are Mountains, Skincare, Consumed, and My Penguin Friend. One of these movies almost made me tear up. I actually teared up for one of these movies. And I'll tell you about that in one of our reviews. And that's it. I am joined by co-host Eric Holmes. Eric, how have you been? What's the last week and 2 days been like? We haven't talked that much the last week. What you been up to?
Just getting in town from the film vault thing and working a lot.
Oh, working a lot? Good.
Yeah.
And putting money in your pocket, the proverbial pocket. Some change and dollars and
got some burger money. It's cool.
Burger money? What is it gourmet burger, or are you being economical with your burger purchases and keep some money putting it in your respective bank or checking account?
It's dollar menu stuff. It's fine.
Dollar menu. Do you think you're not a gourmet burger person? If you were rich, would you be spending it like Wimpy? Would you be buying a burger for today? Well, I don't know what Wimpy says. Would you be buying exclusive gourmet burgers, or are you still dollar menu?
If I'm going all out, I'm not doing burgers. Probably do steak or something like that.
Oh, so okay. I get it. Steak's not okay. So, all right. Yeah, it's been a week since the Film Vault, and we had a great time at the Film Vault. We talked about it last week. We have 4 movies. Anything else except work? Has it all been work and movies for you the last 7 days? Anything you want to mention? Yeah,
pretty much just that.
Okay.
Trying to think if anything special has happened. Not really.
Nothing special. Really. You just sound like me.
Nose to the grindstone.
Nose to the grindstone. Keep reaching for the stars, Eric. Let's do some more cliches. What else? Stay true to yourself. Give me some more. Follow your dreams.
One day at a time.
One day at a time.
One step forward, 2 steps back.
Or no. Wait. How about take one step at a time, Eric? How's that?
There you go.
Step by step, Eric. Right? No. There. Step by step. Okay. Look.
Just 3 words. You can say it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's 3. It's only several seconds. No music licenses. We'll be fine, Eric. If possible, then I'll just lead them over to you. Now, I don't know. Are there bangers this week? You said it's banger season. Is it banger season is this banger week right now for episode 255, Eric Holmes? Yeah.
No, but
not really. Oh,
but we still got some good ones. This is like not a bad week, but not like
not an amazing week.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's see. We have Mountains again. I don't know. I haven't seen Mountains. We're gonna get to Mountains in a second. But for our Patreon members, we're going to be doing our Patreon in about a couple weeks. We're spotlighting the year 1980. Angie Clark, who has been a Patreon member since our inception. She is an OG Patreon member. She had one of the picks for this month, and her pick is the Brian De Palma film, Dressed to Kill. So we'll be covering that. And the other movie has not been picked as of yet. I will go out to our Patreon members to see which movies they want for our second movie we review. So for our Patreon members, we spotlight different years from 1980 through 2020. And this month, for the month of August, we're spotlighting the year 1980. One of them is Dressed to Kill, and the other one is yet to be determined. So Eric, let's start off with this movie called Mountains. And I haven't seen it. It hits theaters on August 16th and digital September 24th, and I'm going to go with the plot summary right now. It says, immigrant worker Xavier dreams of a more spacious home for his wife and son, while earning a living demolishing houses, dismantling his rapidly changing neighborhood of Little Haiti. Little Haiti is located in Miami, and Xavier, he is a demolition worker, Haitian. He has a Haitian family in that area of Little Haiti. I guess the weird thing is he is demolishing houses, but he sees a house that he believes would be the perfect house for his family. And the movie Mountains is about the American dream, maybe seen through the prism of this Haitian family. Does this American dream work out for them, or is it more of a dream deferred or a nightmarish experience? The director is Monica Sorrell, and She is the winner of the Someone to Watch Award at the Film Independent Spirit Awards of 2023. Mountains is getting a ton of critical acclaim. Eric Holmes, your review of Mountains.
This one is probably one that's not for me. What was that movie that I think it's Eight Mountains or
Eight Mountains. Yeah, I love that. It was my favorite film that year.
This is kind of like on that level where I think a bunch of people are going to dig this one, but this was not my movie at all. You know, it was kind of cool following the family around a bit. When it sort of followed the son and kind of what he was going on, that got a little more interesting. But overall, it's just follow family going through financial troubles and personal problems, and I just kind of wasn't in it that much.
It's a family drama. It's gotten a lot of praise. Do you see on the flip side why it's getting a lot of praise? And then when you say it's not your type of movie, what type of movie are you referring to?
So this one, I mean, there's not much to it. You're just following a family and their troubles. So if that's something that you dial into right away and you're kind of on board with that, then you're probably like this because this is a real good version of that. I just wasn't on board with the family and their plight. I was just kind of kept checking the runtime. I was like, is something going to happen? Is this going to I was waiting for the hook or something to pull me into it. And it just never really did.
There is no hook to this movie in your opinion?
I think they're going for it because, he's, works on a demolition team. So they're tearing down houses. And I think it's got something to say about like gentrification. And I think towards the end, it kind of sort of hits that nail on the head, but it didn't really dig deep into it enough for me to really latch on to anything. It was just kind of like, okay, I kind of see what they're doing here, but I think this probably could have worked. Like if this was like a half hour short, I think maybe it would have worked better for me, but just as a feature length, I just wasn't into it.
Right. Mountains is, quote, a multi-generational drama that explores the relationships between immigrants and their children, the looming threat of gentrification, and the pursuit of the American dream. Again, the director is Monica Sorrell. In theaters August 16th. By the way, Bruce Purkey has a review of Mountains, which I believe he might have liked it better than Eric. Again, me and Eric do not listen to Bruce Purkey's reviews before we start actually recording the episode. So it'll be fun. While I'm editing this podcast, I'll get to listen to Bruce's segment for this week. So one of those movies that he covers is Mountains. Let's see. It'll be interesting to see what Bruce Purkey thinks and his rating for Mountains is. Eric, what is your rating for Mountains?
Mine's probably 2 stars on this, but I think that I don't know what Bruce gave it. I think Bruce probably liked this, and I think you would like this a lot too. I think a lot of people would. This is just a thing where not my movie, but I think you guys would dig it.
Mountains is boring.
Yeah, kind of.
Is it boring? Did it bore you?
I think, yeah.
Snooze fest. Mountains is a snooze fest. Eric Holmes.
And not really, because like the family's like charming enough, but like it wasn't enough to really let me sink my teeth into it.
All right.
I think if you saw this, you would probably have a completely different opinion on this movie than I did.
That's fair. That's fair, Eric Holmes. So Eric Holmes gives a 2-star rating for Mountains, which, by the way, it's critically acclaimed, but this is very interesting to see what the counterpoint of Bruce Purkey's review is. And once I get to Mountains, I can't get to Mountains. I've been trying to get to Happy Campers. I haven't gotten to that movie yet. I need to get to Mountains. I can't because there's a big fat ball. How do you pronounce it? Uwe Ball? When you interviewed him?
Uwe Boll.
Uwe Ball? Uwe Ball?
Yeah.
Director Uwe Boll. He has a movie called, what is it called, Eric Holmes? Do you remember the movie?
First Shift.
First Shift. And I think that movie comes out in a couple of weeks. I have to see it tonight because I'm going to interview director Uwe Boll tomorrow morning. And Eric, you recently interviewed Uwe Boll.
Yeah.
Are you just a fan of Ball? Do you like his movies?
I kind of lately, yeah.
He was talking about Postal all over your interview. Have you seen that movie?
Postal's great. Postal's just an insane movie. But his new one is not what you would expect from him. I don't think, because I think most people know him from like House of the Dead, Alone in the Dark, Blood Rain, those kind of movies. And First Shift is like a completely different movie and not what I expected from him. So,
Oh,
I
okay.
mean,
Well,
we'll talk more about that when it comes. But and the interview with him,
great interview.
dude,
I looked
he
at
was
it.
laid back. It was a great interview. I loved
Yeah,
it.
it's going to be better than my interview because I only have 12 minutes. I think your interview with Uwe Ball is going to be on our CinemAddicts podcast feed in about a couple of weeks. It's almost 20 minutes. So very good in that. And if you're a fan of his movie Postal, you're going to get a lot of inside scoop from Uwe Ball from Postal and his latest film, again, First Shift. But that's not for this episode. That's coming up. These are a bunch of interviews that Eric is doing for our CinemAddicts podcast feed, doing a lot of yeoman's work. Thank you, Eric, for all the work that you do as an interviewer. But unfortunately, all of these great things that he's done, he cannot climb every single mountain because at least for Mountains, he gave it 2 stars. Let us know what you think of Mountains if you see it on August 16th or purchase it on digital September 24th. Now, the next movie is called Skincare. Stars Elizabeth Banks, and let me tell you something right now. Dressed to Kill, Brian De Palma, the first 15 minutes of Skincare, I was so excited because it kind of reminded me of a Brian De Palma film. Did it kind of remind you of sort of that thriller elements with the score, that overwhelming music score, Eric, or no?
A little bit. This one was more, someone had something come up, a little bump in the road, and they turned that bump into a mountain, so to speak. Like, and the things just kept going off the rails, and it's all because Elizabeth Banks' character like couldn't leave well enough alone. What was that? Another cliche? Let sleeping dogs lie. Had she let sleeping dogs lie, things would have been fine. But she couldn't help herself and just kept pushing and pushing until things just keep getting worse and worse for her.
No means no, folks. Anyways, I was on a Facebook message exchange with Bruce Purkey, and I asked him, what movie should I watch? Because I have only several more hours before we start podcasting with Eric. Should I watch Skincare or should I watch Mountains? And here's Bruce Purkey's reply. I don't know if you saw it, Eric. He goes, I think Mountains is the better of the two, but Skincare might be a little more fun and entertaining and up your alley. So I take umbrage, Bruce. Bruce was saying that Mountains is more substantial, but I might like the light and fluffy Skincare that I'm a little bit superficial. How dare you, Bruce Purkey? We never get to talk anymore, Bruce. Do you see that? Do you think I'm gonna like Skincare more than Mountains because it's more superficial and De Palma-esque? What do you think? How dare
That's
you, Bruce
hard
Purkey?
to say. Well,
Okay.
I certainly like Skincare a lot more.
Oh,
But I still stand by. I think you'll like Mountains. I think you'll get more out of it than I did.
okay, fair enough. Anyways, let's get to Skincare. Skincare, here's a plot summary. Famed esthetician Hope Goldman, played by Elizabeth Banks, she's launching her very own skincare line. This movie, by the way, is inspired by a true story with obviously a ton of fictional license, but it's set in 2013 Hollywood. And Hope Goldman, played by Elizabeth Banks, is an esthetician, going to do her own skincare line. Everything seems to be going great. She has good customers. The only problem is she works in Hollywood at this outdoor mall called Crossroads of the World. And it's really nice. And it's actually a real mall in Hollywood off of Sunset Boulevard. She's working there, but lo and behold, one early morning, she sees across her way is another office that's being opened up by rival facialist Angel Vergara, played by Luis Gerardo Mendez. And Angel might be a threat to her skincare business. And Hope is wondering, maybe Angel is not going to, maybe Angel's really going to take away her customers. Things get really worse when suppose someone actually hacks into Hope's email and the hacker sends an email to all her clients saying that she is very, how would you say this? She's very sexually excited and she is in need of a man's organ, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's very, very vulgar. And initially it causes her to lose a bunch of clients and business. And Hope is obviously livid. She is immediately blaming Angel for being one of the hacker, or maybe he hired someone to hack her email. She is thinking that Angel is the reason why her business is going down. She enlists the help of a new friend named Jordan. He's played by Lewis Pullman. Lewis Pullman is the son of actor Bill Pullman, by the way. Anyways, Lewis Pullman plays Jordan, and Jordan helps Hope Goldman try to get her business back on track. And Jordan's interesting because he's a 26-year-old life coach slash karate instructor, and it's really crazy. And they team up to figure out what Angel is actually doing. There's also Nathan Fillion. He stars as an anchorman with ulterior motives. There's a local mechanic played by Eric Palladino. I'm mentioning all these men in Hope's life because Skincare, at once, it's a psychosexual thriller, film noir thriller, but it's also a movie about how these men either try to gaslight Hope or try to take advantage of her, all within the milieu of the thriller genre. Skincare, Eric Holmes, your review.
Well, that description seems a bit. Well, I don't know. You know what? I'll just leave that. I almost said something. No, that's spoiler stuff. I can't.
Okay.
But there's some stuff in the description that's kind of, well, we'll say it's not as it seems. We'll put it that way. But yeah, watching Elizabeth Banks and Lewis, when Angel opens up the skincare place right across from her, they're obviously, competitors, but, we have competitor podcasts, but we're friends with them. So the rising tide raises all ships sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And Hope didn't go for that, automatically went for the let's be underhanded about this and try to get Angel out of there. And this is weird because your description of it is not the same movie that I saw.
My description of it, my description of it is actual surface level plot summary. That's what people are introduced to. You're right. To go beyond that,
I understand
the actual movie. Yeah.
But to explain some of the interesting stuff goes against what the description is because there's stuff you learn along the way.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll just say that this is a good what do they call that? A warning or whatever of maybe don't go on the offensive so much. Maybe accept things and try to work around stuff instead of just going head on and attacking when you don't really need to because sometimes the sword can be pointed right back at you and you end up cutting yourself.
Did this movie work for you, Skincare?
It did. I wouldn't call this a banger, but I really liked it. I liked where it went, and some of the. I make it seem like there's like a huge twist, and there's not. But it's not. It kind of, as the movie goes on, it slowly develops into the other thing. This would be a great one to do a spoiler review on because I can't really talk much about it. But it's you're basically just watching Hope's downfall. Hope kind of giving herself enough rope to hang herself with, all those other cliches. And yeah, I don't know what else to say without giving stuff away. But it's a good movie, and I would definitely recommend it.
This movie's, again, like I said, 2000. It's set in 2013, and the director, I believe, I didn't put it on our Google Notes. I believe the director's name is Austin Peters. And Austin Peters, I believe. So Peters wants to create a film noir thriller, sunshine noir thriller with this other thematic about the men in her life for Skincare. And there's a lot of balls at play in this movie. And the first 15 minutes where we're actually just in the world of Hope Goldman, and she starts off in a newscast with the anchorman played by Nathan Fillion, and then we are introduced to her and her store and her assistant / PR person who works for her. And we're getting introduced to Hope Goldman's world in Hollywood. It does a really good job of that. It does a great job of giving us that little section of Hollywood or Hollyweird back in 2013. And Austin Peters does a great job. The DP work is awesome. As a huge De Palma fan, there's a lot of great nods to just the visual language of this movie. It looks really good for an indie film. Loved it in many ways on that visual sense. But the problem is, although Elizabeth Banks is good in the lead, and I'd like Lewis Pullman as well, it just didn't click for me. There were a lot of great elements that could have shined, but they just didn't bear any kind of fruit for me. And even though Bruce would say that I would really enjoy it, I was hemming and hawing. I was going to give this movie 3 stars, but I love the score, dug the performances, but 3 stars for me would be, would I want to watch this movie again, at least on just on a base level? And the answer to that, because this movie veers so many different directions, which can be good in certain movies, at least for this movie, I wanted to be more focused. I wasn't as actually hooked in for the last half hour. I was just drifting in and out. And this was at times a slog. And even though film noir, psychosexual thrillers are I'm a fan of, Skincare was a disappointment for me. So I'm giving Skincare almost 3 stars, but I'm giving it 2.5, where there are some really good elements, but I can't fully recommend this movie or even mildly recommend this movie. Eric, your final thoughts on Skincare and your rating?
Well, I gotta say, I thought Elizabeth Banks was great in this.
Great,
and
yeah.
Even Nathan Fillion, Nathan Fillion didn't have many scenes, but there's one particular one in a car that worked real great. And
Yes.
I think a lot of that is kind of Elizabeth Banks, kind of the way she reacts and, her character goes about what happened there. And yeah, I just like watching her kind of lose it, the, the more she pushes, the more it pushes back, and everything kind of starts falling apart for her. I thought this was really good. I'd probably go 4 stars on this. I'm actually kind of surprised you gave it 2.5.
Yeah, it was just one of these things where it's a movie that's tailor-made for me.
Yeah.
And there are
Also,
sections.
like the psychosexual stuff, like I didn't get a lot of that, because I think a lot of that is, would it be too much to say that like the stuff that her character is, her reputation isn't really fair to what she actually does?
I think that's that. Yeah, that's fair. That's
Like,
fair to
because
say.
the one guy comes to the skincare store and it's like, I'm just looking for, basically
Yeah.
look, it says a lot more crudely, but this is a family show. I'm just looking for sex. And they're like, what the hell? And then that's when they see the thing online. And
Right.
that's not something she did. That's something someone put up there. So
Yeah.
that would definitely be something that wasn't her doing.
It's more,
Um,
yeah, to your point, a lot of this sexual stuff is
Yeah.
projections of these men towards Hope. Hope has nothing to do with it because Hope, she is just focused on forwarding her career. And it's a lot of the men in her life who are projecting their own emotions and feelings towards her, which
Yeah.
which is an element to this thriller element of Skincare. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Eric.
but when you said psychosexual, I got something more like a sexploitation movie in my head, and
Yeah,
this
good
isn't
point.
that at
Good
all.
point.
I don't think
Good
so.
point. Yeah.
But yeah, 4 stars. I like this one.
Wow. Okay, so 4 stars for Eric. I'm really excited to see what Bruce thinks of Skincare. Skincare is exclusively in theaters on August 16th. 2.5 stars for me. Eric gave it 4 stars. Okay, final 2 movies. And I think you would have liked Consumed, actually, Eric. Consumed. Here, this is a horror film. Here's
Oh
a
yeah,
plot synopsis. Which one?
I'm looking at the plot synopsis already. I was like, damn, I should watch that one.
Yeah, I don't know if you or Bruce got screener links. I requested the links for you guys, but here's a plot summary. Trapped between a madman played by Devon Sawa. He is a mountain man, Devon Sawa. He is seeking revenge on a skin-stealing monster. Okay, so he's up in the mountains, somewhere up in the forest. And what's happening is a married couple played by Courtney Halverson and Mark Famiglietti. They are trying to make it out of the forest because this monster is basically trying to either kill them. Okay, so they are lost in the forest. Things happen. And ultimately, the Courtney Halverson character, she ends up being the main person. And she's trying to figure out how is she and her husband going to survive this ordeal. Her husband gets a little bit injured during the journey. So a lot of Consumed is through the POV of this woman as she's trying. And by the way, you learn a little bit more about this woman's health condition. And it's sort of a struggle for her to survive, to make it out of the forest alive with her husband. And helping them on their quest is a mountain man played by Devon Sawa. I think I erroneously put madman, but he's a mountain man. But so it's really a three-hander. And I can actually say this skin-stealing monster is a Wendigo. That is not a spoiler. That's actually the Butcher Brothers. They are
That's not a spoiler. That's a selling point.
That's a selling point.
You should have led with that. I love
right.
Wendigos.
So it's, yeah, directed by Mitchell Altieri and produced by Phil Flores. They are known as the Butcher Brothers. My bad, Butcher Brothers. It's in theaters and on demand Friday, August 16th. Not many horror movies have a life-affirming theme to the proceedings, and Consumed has it without giving too much away. I really loved Courtney Halverson's performance in Consumed, and Devon Sawa is always a treat to watch. Loved him. What's that movie that he did directed by Fred Durst. Was he in that movie? Was that The Fanatic with John Travolta? Wasn't he in that one? Or I could,
Oh shoot, I haven't seen that movie in so long. I can't remember.
I
I
could be.
remember John Travolta's in it, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I think there's another Devon Sawa movie that I think you really love, where he's a hunter or something like that from your recollection. So, anyways,
I have to
Sawa's
look it.
very,
I know you're right. I gotta look it up.
yeah, Monster something, Monster Hunter or Hunter Monster, or I forgot what the movie is, but Consumed
Oh,
again.
Gasoline Alley, Hunter Hunter.
I love Gasoline Alley, and I remember you and Bruce didn't like it, but I really love that movie. Love Devon Sawa as a lead, but again, the lead here is Courtney Halverson, and you get to see her journey attempting to fight the Wendigo and whatever forces are out there in the forest. Consumed, in my opinion, is a apt title for this horror film. So if you want a little bit more resonance in your horror, it's not a pure horror genre film, meaning it's not a total slasher. It's not a jump scare type of movie. It's its own singular experience. I really loved what the Butcher Brothers were going for with Consumed. And again, I really love the POV of just it's more of a female centric type of horror film where there's a lot of really cool inspiring elements, especially the third act for Consumed. I'm not a big expert on horror films like Bruce Purkey nor Eric, but I really loved Consumed. I'm giving it 4 stars. Again, Consumed hits theaters and on demand Friday, August 16th. And Devon Sawa, I guess what do we know him from? Final Destination. I'm looking at
Black Friday.
Black Friday. Oh yeah, he's been yeah, the movie that you loved, Eric, is called Hunter Hunter from Devon Sawa. And yes, Sawa was in the 2019 film The Fanatic. So Consumed, 4 stars for me. Next up, finally for our featured films, there's a film called My Penguin Friend. What a horrible title for a movie, My Penguin Friend. It's based and inspired by a true story of a lost penguin named Dindim. And what happens is this fisherman named Joao, I believe he's Brazilian. I could be wrong, but he's played by Jean Reno from The Professional. He stumbles onto this penguin one day and lost at sea in the ocean. And he finds him, and the penguin is filled with oil and really just a mess. And he nurses that penguin back to health. A local in the area names this lost penguin as Dindim. And what happened is this fisherman, Joao, while nursing him to health, he actually becomes friends with his penguin. His wife is played by Adriana Barraza, and she initially is not too fond of the penguin, but essentially this is a family film and it works. It really works because that penguin is really cool and I was completely engaged with the story. Here's the thing about Dindim, which makes the penguin really special. When the penguins migrate, this penguin migrates to an island 5,000 miles away. And then what happens is for the next several years, Dindim migrates back to the fisherman and traverses those 5,000 miles just to be back with the fisherman and his wife. Ultimately, their story goes viral. And this story is inspired by that fisherman played by John Reno's life story. Again, this is inspired by that fisherman's life story. It opens in theaters August 16th. And as we know, Jean Reno, whether you're watching Mission Impossible or The Professional or a bunch of his other films, he is a great actor. And seeing him for most of the movie look like a huge sad sack because he and his wife suffered tragedy years ago. Okay. And you see the tragedy on both of their faces. And it's a lot of this, My Penguin Friend is a sad movie, but a lot of it is very inspiring. The only negative, it's directed by David Sherman, my bad, is it is highly manipulative, but what do you expect from a movie like this? It won me over. I really loved My Penguin Friend. Actually, Eric, this is another movie. You were too busy with in Uwe Ball world this week, and that's completely forgivable. But My Penguin Friend, although it could have seemed like a innocuous, possibly unwatchable family adventure, for me, it's a highly watchable family adventure, and it got me teary on a lot of moments. So it was a value-added watch for me. I'm giving My Penguin Friend 4 stars, only in theaters August 16th. If you don't cry or are in the midst of almost bawling your eyes out, then you're probably not a human being. Okay, so let's see what Bruce's review for My Penguin Friend is as far as his segment goes. Okay, so that is it for our features. We have mountains. Yes.
Not quite it. We do have one more.
What?
One Fast Move.
That is not a feature. The features are the movies that are opening August 16th. One Fast Move opened up last week, so that is a recommend for you, Eric.
Fair enough.
So what? Fair enough. What is One Fast Move about? Tell me about it.
One Fast Move is KJ Apa, APA.
Yeah.
Plays Wes, and he's kind of a ne'er-do-well. Goes around on his motorcycle, gets in trouble with the law, is trying to get his life together, but he really wants to race motorcycles. And his dad, played by Eric, his estranged father, played by Eric Dean, he's a really popular motorcycle racer. And so he links up with him, and they kind of butt heads at first, and then he teaches them the ways of the road and how to race motorcycles. It's kind of sort of paint by numbers kind of movie like this, but this is what you might call comfort food, or like a cheeseburger. Like, it's not quite as good as like Ford v Ferrari, but it's like way better than Ferrari.
Yeah, it's good if you like a estranged father and son tale.
Yeah, it's got that. It's got a bunch of motorcycle, action scenes and races. Those parts are really cool. This is kind of like one of those movies. I don't think it's gonna. This is probably firmly in 3-star banger territory, because if you're in for this kind of movie, this is gonna be perfect for what you're looking for. But if you're not already in the bag for this kind of movie, I don't think this is gonna move the needle for you. But overall, I had a good time watching it. Eric Dane, I really like him in this. Maybe it's just how he looks, but I've got a lot of Philip Seymour Hoffman vibes from him. And of course, Edward James Olmos is in it. He was kind of Eric Dane's sort of mentor, and it's always good when Edward James Olmos pops up and stuff. But yeah, I'd probably go 3-star banger on this. If you want to watch a good, like, a strange father and son get together and kind of come to spoiler alert, things work out, as these movies tend to do. But you get a bunch of cool motorcycle action, and it's kind of fun. I dug it.
Yeah, the movie's written and directed by Kelly Blatz. Kelly is also an actor. And One Fast Move. I apologize for that. It's currently streaming on Prime Video. Again, like Eric said, I thought Eric Dane was the best part of the movie. There's a lot of layers to his character. He's an estranged dad. He's also a bit of a skirt chaser. That's a pejorative. I know that because his life is drinking and chasing women. All right. He's very irresponsible, even though he was mentored by the Edward James Olmos character. The Olmos character is the owner of a motorcycle shop. He's been trying to teach the Eric Dane character just ways to live his life. But maybe those lessons, even though they're not heeded by Eric Dane's character, they might be heeded by KJ Apa. There's also a subplot regarding the local small town waitress played by Maya Fico, and she's a waitress who plays a possible love interest to the young motorcyclist, played by KJ Apa. This is a family drama, which is, I think, really well done, and it's also upscaled because you throw in a bunch of motorcycle races into it. So I'm not a fan of race car movie. I mean, I'll watch them, but it's not my complete go-to. And family dramas are also not my complete go-to as well, a lot of times. But you combine them and you get something like One Fast Move. I think that's straight down the middle, a good recommend. There is a great sequence towards the third act of the movie where Eric Dane and KJ Apa, they go at each other verbally. And it's a really reckoning moment for both of them. I think it's really well played. And actually, it's worth watching because of that scene, because it's so powerful. I'm giving One Fast Move 3.5 stars. Definitely recommend One Fast Move. Again, streaming on Prime Video. 3.5 stars for me. 3-star banger for Eric Holmes. And I think that is it for this episode of CinemAddicts. That is it for me and Eric. We're basically, well, what are we, Eric? We're just the opening act for the real CinemAddicts episode.
It's a female dog.
What?
Can we say basic bitches, or it's female dog? It's fine.
Yeah. It's a female dog. We can do. I think we say. Can we say that? I think we can say that. So yeah, we're basic because right now you're gonna have the big What are the opening act for Bruce Purkey? Because he comes with some really great stuff. And by the way, he really worked himself to the bone this week because he saw Mountains, he saw Skincare, he didn't see Consumed, but he did see My Penguin Friend. So you're going to get those 3 features from Bruce Purkey in the coming moments. He did not see One Fast Move. I will say this, because I'll tell you right now, One Fast Move, even if a movie goes zoom, zoom around the track, it's not a Bruce Purkey movie. I can tell you now.
Yeah,
Definitely not.
That's why a 3-star banger. Like, there's people who this movie's for. Bruce is not the person this is for. Kind of like how Mountains, like, it's certain people are in the bag for that. I assume Bruce might be. I'm pretty sure you would be, but I'm not.
I am so glad, Eric, that you gave it 2 stars, because I am probably going to watch this. And like we said, I think Mitch Burns, we love Mitch Burns, by the way, the Hollywood Persona. He is the podcaster behind the Hollywood Persona. He posted up something on our CinemAddicts Facebook group. I forgot if it was a meme or if it was a comment or whatever, but I was just saying, if I like a movie, essentially the gist of it is, if I like a certain movie and you don't, that doesn't make me better than you or you better than me. As long as we're just enjoying movies together. And This is Mountains, to your point, Eric, is one of those critical darlings, which I would rather hear negative reviews than everyone jumping on the friggin' critical applause train. So at least people are getting a counterpoint to Mountains, and then several minutes later, you're gonna get Bruce Purkey's point of view. Yes, Eric, I'm taking up too much space. What are you saying? No, Bruce. No. Bruce, wait.
I think Bruce got out of the attic. He got into the Google Doc.
What does he did Bruce? Is Bruce what hello? Are you feeding Bruce right now?
No, I haven't fed him for a week. I don't know.
I know you've been working, but you're supposed to give him water. And what is his favorite treats? Kibbles and bits, right?
I do whatever dog food we got left over.
Oh, Eric, you're the greatest showman. Is there anything you want to plug? By the way, in all seriousness, we much love and the best of thoughts, and we just love our buddy William Lindis. He's going through it right now medically, and we just wish him just like the best of health. He is one of the members of the Movie Bears podcast. He's one of these guys I really look up to as far as just his film knowledge, his passion for film, and most of all, his passion for life. So just a lot of love to William Lindis out there. Eric.
Yeah, he's a complete sweetheart. And I guess it's looking good that he'll pull through it, but cancer is a scary thing. So, when I heard that about him, got scared. But you hope for the best, and can't take William off the earth, not just yet.
Yes, and to Eric's point, Eric will do me one better in the humanity scale, because Eric has actually, of all the beautiful things and nice things I want to say about William Lindis, and I will continue to do so, Eric Holmes, right there on that corner, being a little bit silent. You've actually met William and hung out with him. So yeah. So
he's could not give him enough hugs, and I want to give him even more now. But
you made William pay for the beer and the food, right? Because you always, when you meet people that you love, you make sure you leave them
yes.
Okay. You have to, because just like what you and Peter Beta did. Remember when we had lunch? I got stiff with the bill. Make sure when you let Bruce Purkey out of that attic, I don't know when you're going to let him out. Maybe you can extort him for some money, and for some food outside, make sure he picks up the bill. So I'm just saying.
You know what? I like the way you think. I might do that. Hey, Bruce, right. You hear that?
Bruce, you can be let out. And what? I know you're not a steak guy yet, because we need to save up our money. How about beef bourguignon? Will you be okay with that? Beef bourguignon, or what? What beef do you want from Bruce Purkey? What should he pay for? Wellington? Can you pay for some Wellingtons for Bruce Purkey?
We'll go at picanha.
Okay. Look, CinemAddictsPodcast.com for our merch. Okay. Most importantly, what else you want to plug, Eric, before we get out of here?
Yeah, CinemAddictsPodcast.com. Was it next week? We got the Uwe Boll interview. Definitely listen to that.
2 weeks from now, because Uwe Boll hits theaters August 30th.
Yeah, not for so long. It's such a good interview.
It's one of these things, folks, on our CinemAddicts podcast feed. By the way, we're on Podbean right now. We just switched from Acast. I switched us over to Podbean. So check out Podbean. It's a really good podcast service. I'm really liking the stats that they're giving us right now, way better than Acast in my opinion. But anyways, what's interesting in the next moving forward, every single interview that Eric does, I'm going to be putting it here on our CinemAddicts podcast feed. It's going to be Eric Holmes all the time. When I'm not blabbering and blubbering, and Bruce Purkey is not just, I don't know what he's doing in the attic with his reviews. That's Eric. So Eric's 1 out of 3 for these weekly episodes, but those other 2 episodes that you're going to get on the feed usually, or 1 or 2 per week, will be all Eric Holmes and his interviews and insightful stuff. And what kind of questions do you usually ask these people, Eric? You ask them a lot of what?
Usually like kind of behind the scenes, kind of nuts and bolts kind of questions. Sometimes I'll get into their past movies. And also, well, this one, so I did an interview with the director of One Fast Move, Kelly Blatz.
Yes.
And it did not record on my end, but we should be getting a backup copy from the PR person. So hopefully that'll be up. But if not, then, but either way, another thing I know that we have that I would like to plug.
Oh, right.
William Sung's book.
William Sung.
Dude, this book is so good. It is so good.
What is the name of the book, Eric Holmes?
The name of the book is Dreaming in Chinese: Memoirs from a Taiwanese Prison by William Sung.
Ooh, okay. Dreaming in Chinese by William Sung.
If you don't read that book and just get sucked into it, I don't know what's wrong with you. Maybe you just don't like reading, but that book is fantastic. Okay. And then he told me that he was working on a second one. We talked about it in the interview, but I'm all in for whatever. And by the way, if anyone's looking for, some producers sometimes look for, what's a cool book we can make a movie out of? Right here. Make this into a movie. This will be a freaking awesome movie.
Okay, Dreaming in Chinese, if I'm not mistaken, by William Sung. Eric, about a week ago, sent me his audio interview with William Sung. I will be putting it up on one of our websites. I'm thinking Deepest Dream shortly. Very good. Eric Holmes on that. And that's it. Me and Eric are done for this week. Much love to William Lindis, of course, and much love to you guys for supporting us here on CinemAddicts as well. And I don't know. I'm a little bit reflective because I'm thinking about if I'm going to love mountains or not. What's my rating on mountains, Eric? What do you think?
Maybe 4.5.
Ooh,
I mean, geez. 4 stars is like the joke answer, but I think you might go 4.5 on it.
Is the joke? Look,
and actually,
are you trying to say that I like slow moving, pretentious films, Eric? Is that what you're insinuating?
I think you just get what Mountains is laying down. I think you get more out of those kind of movies than I do.
Because I'm a little more
because there's 8 Mountains, there's Drive My Car, like these are all movies that you love that I was like I get that they're good movies, I just don't connect with them.
I love them because they're contemplative. They're very you ascribe a lot of things. I ascribe a lot of things to it. I get value from these things. What don't you get out of these movies like Drive My Car or Mountains or The 8 Mountains? What are you? I'm not saying what are you not missing, but what is not connecting with you? Because I want to see that other side.
Basically, what I'm seeing in these movies is characters staring at each other and talking, and none of what they're talking about or doing is particularly interesting to me. So it's just basically just like looking at pictures of people for 2 hours. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know what I'm supposed to get out of this. That
is a great rebuttal, Eric. So let us know if you guys like movies like The 8 Mountains or Drive My Car or Mountains. So it'll be interesting. Where do you stand on this?
There was Skinamarink. I love Skinamarink. That movie is just literally just pointing a camera at a wall, but for some reason, like that got my brain racing, and I can't explain why Skinamarink should have just been boring, and I should have been all in on Mountains. I don't know why it plays out the way it does, but it does.
And Eric, here's a reversal for this week. I'm the one that should have probably given 4.5 stars to Skincare, right? But I gave it 2.5. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. So you thought it was going to be the Greg show, right? The Greg Srisavasdi show, Skincare. Yeah. Okay. So for next week, yes.
I'm also I got to see if we still got consumed, because as soon as you said when to go, I'm like, why did I not watch this?
Okay. Can you do
that on? Okay. We're done here.
We'll talk about that after we're done recording. But finally, for next week's episode, for CinemAddicts episode 256, we will be covering a whole bunch of movies. A film called Between the Temples, starring Carol Kane. I don't know if we're going to get a link for Strange Darling. I asked. It stars who? Who does a Strange Darling ask? Who does Strange Darling star? Yeah, Kyle Gallner from Dinner in America and Smile. We don't know. We haven't gotten that. There's another movie called The Other Lorenz, which we got. We Who knows? One of us might actually review it. But the ones I'm really excited for. Oh, did I mention Place of Bones? That's a Western with Heather Graham, Eric Holmes. Interesting movie. I don't know. You got to pick whichever movie you want to see. But the two movies I'm going to plead and force you and Attic Bruce Purkey is a documentary called Sugarcane, which we have a link for, and also another movie, listeners. Here's the thing. It's called Army of Shadows. Have you ever heard of Army of Shadows, Eric Holmes?
No, I have not.
Army of Shadows is directed by Jean-Pierre Melville. Jean-Pierre Melville is the director behind Les Samurai, The Red Circle. I'm trying to think of other movies of Jean-Pierre Melville. He didn't do Rififi. He did Bob Le Flambeur, Bob the Gambler. He is a very highly influential filmmaker, but I think Army of Shadows is his best work. Are you a fan of Inglourious Bastards, Eric Holmes? This is the way I'm going to pull you in.
Tarantino movie or
Yes,
the old
yes.
one? Well, both. Yeah.
The Tarantino movie. So you're a huge fan of Inglourious Bastards from?
Yeah.
Well, I was reading an IndieWire article some years back, and they said, well, if you like Inglourious Bastards, Army of Shadows is a better version of Inglourious Bastards. So Eric, go whenever you're not working. Go.
Might be overselling that a bit, but we'll see.
Well, I'm not
definitely piqued my interest.
Yes. Okay. So I think we all know what movie Eric Holmes is going to see next. Army of Shadows. Please do see this movie, Eric Holmes. Bruce Purkey is excited to see Army of Shadows. By the way, very quickly, Army of Shadows is playing in LA markets starting Friday, August 16th in 4K. Please, I will put a link, a Rialto link, where you can find it in Los Angeles specifically for this weekend. It's going to be playing at New York's Film Forum until August 22nd. And unfortunately, when me, Bruce, and Eric will be reviewing Army of Shadows, hopefully all three of us have seen this movie by next Wednesday. Yeah, we will be reviewing it for the Ontario, Canada markets. So it's playing in Ontario dates the week of August 23rd. I just wanted Bruce and Eric to get Army of Shadows ASAP because this, to me, is one of the movies that absolutely blew me away. We get a ton of screener links, right, Eric? Just 5 or 6 a given week. You compound that with how many weeks in a year? 50, 52. I would assume within the last 4 or 5 years, could we have gotten over 1,000 screener links? Wouldn't be out of the question, right, Eric? I mean, think about it. If you think about it.
Pretty close to it, if not over. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm probably doing really bad math. So I'm thinking we get a lot of screener links. Army of Shadows, I saw a screener link maybe several years ago. This is probably the tops of the tops. I am totally overselling this movie, and I would love to hear what you guys think of Army of Shadows. Listeners, if any of you are in the LA area, go to the Rialto website page, which we'll put on our show notes, and see if it's playing in your area. This is one of those movies you definitely, especially if you like any of the films from Jean-Pierre Melville and just love classic cinema, go see it at your local theater. All right, that's it. Eric, signing off. Final thoughts.
Yes, all good stuff.
Good.
Yeah, check out One Fast Move. Check out Consumed. I haven't even seen Consumed yet, and I already love it.
Wow. Eric Holmes, the fortune teller.
All you had to do was say when to go. I'm in 5 stars. Where is it?
Okay, I'm going to talk to Eric right now to see if he has a link for Consumed. If not, I will request for him. And again, check out Eric Holmes on our CinemAddicts YouTube and our podcast feed for his multitude of interviews. For Eric Holmes, this is Greg Srisavasdi. We are out. And before Bruce Purkey, of course, here's Claire.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining CinemAddicts.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Greg. Before you get into Bruce Purkey's segment here on CinemAddicts, just FYI, the last part of the segment has his review of Cuckoo, this new horror thriller film starring Hunter Schafer. That review has spoilers in it. Okay, so just it's intended for that. Okay, so while you're listening to this podcast, if you do not want to hear spoilers for Cuckoo, it's not completely full-blown spoilers, but there is a explanation of the plot that is spoilerific. So just FYI, listen to Bruce Purkey's segment. Once he gets into Cuckoo, it'll be your own decision whether you want to keep on listening to that review. All right, guys, thanks again for supporting all 3 of us, actually all 4 of us. We still love you, Anderson Count, over here on CinemAddicts. And again, watch Cuckoo and beware Bruce Purkey's review of Cuckoo. All right, enjoy.
Well, here we meet again in the cinematic. I hope you enjoyed listening to Eric and Greg. I'm sure they had much fun at my expense. See how they are? They make fun of me. They keep me in the attic. They feed me and give me water from time to time, and that's it. I get to sit up here and watch movies and talk about them, and that's it. Anyway, I'm going to sit here and talk about movies. Anyway, what do we have this week? 3 features. I have 3 features for you. That's going to be Mountain Skincare and My Penguin Friend, as well as one recommendation that is going to be Cuckoo. It's in the theaters right now, and I will give a little bit of, I will let spoilers come into the review since Greg has already done a great review. Anyway, let's get to the features. First up, My Penguin Friend, directed by David Schurman. And there's a bunch of people in it, but the main person you want to know is Jean Reno, famously from Leon the Professional and Godzilla 1999 or whatever that year that came out. He was in that. He's, of course, been in a ton of things, but he's a long, well-known French actor who somehow in this movie plays a Brazilian fisherman. You're going to have to let that go if you're going to enjoy this movie at all. So, basic idea. Brazilian fisherman guy is, I'll just call him Leon the Professional. Young Leon Professional has a son and a wife, and they live in Brazil. They live on the beach. There's a storm, and he decides it's a good time to go out fishing with his kid. A kid falls in the water and drowns. Flash forward 20 years or 30 years. I don't know. It might have said in the movie. I don't remember that it said. Anyway, flash forward a bunch of years, and he's a sad old fisherman living with his wife on the beach, just kind of living his life, not doing much. And then we switch over to Patagonia, where we see a whole bunch of penguins kind of living their lives, and it becomes almost like a documentary film, beautiful nature photography, and you're kind of watching a rookery of penguins, and the migration starts, and they all jump in the ocean, and you kind of follow one kind of straggling penguin as he leaves his hutch or his den or whatever they call it. They kind of get grass in a little like dome, and they live inside this dome of grass. He or she, I guess it's supposed to be he, goes off following the rest of the penguins. And you have this cool, really cool, like, I guess you kind of montage or a little scene where you see him swimming through the ocean, and there's the moon, and it's just really cool nature photography. And some of it's even POV shots from the penguin's point of view, swimming in the water. And he swims up to a boat, but the boat has a oil slick around it, so he gets covered in oil. I guess they don't really talk about why, but I'm assuming that kind of sends him off course, and he ends up showing up on the shore where Leon the Professional lives. Leon the Brazilian Professional lives, and he gets the penguin, and he cleans it off and kind of nurses it back to health. And his wife immediately, of course, is sort of like, what are we doing with the penguin in our house? But she kind of puts up with it, and they basically kind of just have this penguin as a friendly, I guess, kind of like a pet. And he's like walking around everywhere with the penguin. The penguin seems to kind of hang out with him, and he builds the penguin a little hutch out of like fisherman trash, and the penguin can go in and out of his house. And it's real cute. And let's just say this movie is probably designed mostly for anybody who kind of misses or wants that sort of Disney style, very light, nature-ish, light kind of heartwarming sort of a story of, humans making friends with animals. That's kind of the story. Probably, like I said, probably aimed mostly for 8 or 9-year-old kids or anyone who likes that kind of stuff. The story goes on back and forth about, him eventually kind of getting a little bit of notoriety because of this penguin, which I guess is based on a real story. And you do see at the very, very end during the credits, the actual fisherman and the actual penguin. So that's kind of an interesting side note. And then I'll just say in the third act, because the movie is so light and so just kind of like, let's enjoy hanging out with old man and penguin, that the third act kind of injects some, I guess, dramatic tension where there's some, I'm not going to say what happens exactly, but let's just say there's some obstacles, maybe possibly keeping the penguin from returning to the beach. Because every year the penguin, migrates back to its rookery and then migrates the other way the next year back to the fisherman. And on the rookery side of things, there's some, scientists that are studying the penguins, and they are tagging them, and they're eventually going to discover that, like, oh, this one penguin is doing something very unusual. And that's kind of the whole basis of the whole story. A lot of great nature photography, some pretty, I would say, some somewhat sketchy CGI at certain points when they want things to happen with the penguin that the penguin probably isn't trained or able to really pull off. So they have to use some CGI for that. It's a little dodgy. But overall, the photography and the penguin stuff is really well done. I wouldn't say this is something to run out and go see unless you have kids, or this is really the kind of the heartwarming thing you want to see. This is kind of where your mood is at. Like, you've seen just one too many, I don't know, political reports on TV, or one too many really dark and dour movie. Maybe you need this kind of as a pick-me-up. Then this might really hit the spot for you, and this might be like a 4 or 5 star movie. For me, it was a fine time while I was watching it, but I didn't really go much more than probably a 3 star movie for me. But hey, it was good at what it was doing. This could almost be a 3 star banger, because it does what it does really well, but some people probably won't really like it. So maybe I'll call this a 3 star banger. If the kind of movie I described is the kind of movie that you enjoy, this is probably going to really hit the spot for you. So I think that's a 3 star banger. You tell me, Eric, did you watch it? Or if you did watch it, would that be a 3 star banger? I think so. Okay, moving on. We are going to Skincare, directed by Austin Peters, starring, let's get a little quick list here. You got Elizabeth Banks, which we should know very well by now. Elizabeth Banks has been in a million things. In fact, we just watched her recently in our Patreon episode of Slither, a very young Elizabeth Banks, but she's been in a ton of stuff since then, of course. And she plays Hope Goldman. She's kind of the main focus of Skincare. Also in here you have Michaela J., who I know from Loot, as kind of her assistant and assistant secretary. It's kind of hard to say. They're kind of friends a little bit too. And you have Nathan Fillion. I think he's playing Nathan Fillion in this, or I don't know, did it have a character name for him? He plays basically like a celebrity reporter type of dude, like one of those, I don't know, he'd be like an AM celebrity / pop culture sort of show. And Angel, which is played by Luis Gerardo Mendez. All right, and then what is the basic story of this? So this starts out with her, and she's getting ready to launch her, is getting ready to launch her skincare line. And she's kind of like, middle-aged, got this really exclusive LA like spa, skincare place in the city. She's obviously, truly trying to make her name, and she's kind of made a name, and she's this exclusivity, get all the people that are in the, in on the in and want to, seem cool are going to go to her for their stuff. They go there and get, facials, or, get various, I don't know, electronic treatments or creams or whatever it is they're going to do. She's going to give it to them, and they're going to be cool because they went to her. But at the beginning of the movie, you are seeing that right across the little alleyway from her, because there's kind of this, I think it's Crossroads of the World, if I remember correctly, is the name of this place. And I believe it's a real place, and I'm sure Greg could chime in on this. It seems like it's an actual little place that has like shops and businesses, but it also looks like it's supposed to be kind of exclusive and sort of Hollywoody. That's where she is. And across the way, this Angel character has just opened his own version of her shop, and he seems younger, and he seems a little cooler, and he's got a neon sign on the window, and she doesn't. And right out of the gate, you see her immediately start to spin, and her jealousy and her envy and her worry that, oh my gosh, this guy's going to start stealing everything I have. And just when I'm about to launch this line of skincare products and become a real name in the business and, really get my empire, he's going to come in and start taking it. So that's your setup. It's done as semi-comedic, sort of a really satirical sort of look at this kind of, obviously superficial, life based on beauty and status and all this kind of stuff. So all that stuff, you kind of know where you're at when you dive into this world. And Elizabeth Banks is a great person to kind of portray this person who is both, hungry for the status and fame and success, but also at the point in her life where you can feel she feels it slipping away. And this movie sets itself up as this kind of paranoid, jealous unraveling of her life. And as far as all that goes, I think it works pretty well. But the one kind of problem I have with this movie is it doesn't feel to me like it has the conviction or the focus to just follow that straight on through. I think that's the movie to me. Her character, jealous, watching the world around her crumbling, either real or her perception that it's crumbling, and trying to grasp at that fame and status as she falls, and then it would just be her slow unraveling for the whole movie. I think, and to some degree, it does do that. And I think that is where it's successful. Where it doesn't work quite as well is within that, there seems to be someone really trying to dismantle her life. Like you start seeing like someone has hacked into her social media and is like posting really vile stuff to kind of, like vile sexual weird stuff on her on all her profiles and all this kind of stuff. And that was the point where I kind of had a problem. I got a little confused because on the one side, I think we're supposed to see her as paranoid and delusional, and her jealousy as being all this shallow stuff, and we're supposed to see her as like actually being out of touch, and we're supposed to find her either like coming to terms with that or not coming to terms with that, like I said, unraveling. But then by having this other stuff, which seems to be real, like someone is really out to get her, then in a way it kind of pulls you two ways, because then you're like, well, then she's actually right. Like, who is out to get her? Like, why is someone out to get her? And then you're supposed to be rooting for her to get the person who's out to get her. But is she going after the right person, or is she going after the wrong person? Of course, she's going to assume it's Angel. Is it Angel, or is it someone else? Or is it a stranger? I don't know. So it works in two ways. It works as an unraveling satire, and it works as sort of is she going to find and get the person and stop the person who's trying to destroy her life? I would say part one works better than part two. So for me, it's a little bit of a muddle and a little bit of an unsuccessful attempt, but an interesting one and pretty entertaining all the way through. So unfortunately, I didn't hate this movie. I think some people might actually hate it. I think some people might love it and think, oh, this is a great, great satire, and it just hits and it's scathing and blah, blah, blah. I think it wants to be something that's been done a lot better in other arenas. I think I'm probably going to once again go 3 stars in this. It's not great, but it's good enough. And definitely Elizabeth Banks is great in it. And I think she could have carried the movie that I kind of wanted it to be, and it only was half of. So yeah, I'll go 3 stars on this one too. Okay, the best movie I saw, of the features at least, is going to be Mountains. Now, Mountains, sorry, I'm writing on my little notebook here as we talk, as I talk to you. Lucky you. Mountains, directed by Monica Sorrell. This stars, boy, there's a lot of names I'm going to have trouble with here. Adibon Nazaire as Xavier. He's kind of our main focus here, but actually there's really 3 main characters here, and it's a family. You got Xavier, who I just mentioned. You have Esperance, his wife, which is Sheila Anozier, and Junior, his son, who's like an adult son, like not fully, young adult son. Like he's probably like 18, 19, something like that. And he's played by Chris Renoir. And this takes place in Little Haiti in Miami. And it's really funny because at first I wasn't even sure I didn't know if we were in Haiti for real, but it's supposed to be actually Little Haiti, which is this area of Miami, apparently. Now, this is one of those movies, and I should have written it down. We had a movie earlier this year about a family, and the man was dealing with grief, and he was going and getting involved in like local theater and stuff, and it was really, really cool, and it was just this great focused view of this man and his life. I think this does work in similar ways, but with a very different story and a very different theme and very different like kind of tone. But the idea that you have these 2 movies where they're indie movies really focusing on a family and kind of their real lives, that it just is affecting. And it's amazing that more movies can't kind of pull this off. So Xavier, you get at the very beginning, you see him, and he's kind of a construction worker, but it's actually a destruction worker. He's a demolition guy. So he and his crew will go out, and then you just see the very opening shots of this movie are them just with, tractors and stuff, and they're tearing down houses to clear out an area for new construction. And you kind of just follow him at first doing, his day-to-day work. And as he's going home, because of course he's helping demolish houses for new construction, he's also seeing all the different places that are available for sale or rent or whatever. And on the way home, he stops by this small house that's up for sale, and he kind of stops and looks at it, and you can kind of tell he's interested in that house. And then you kind of see him in his day-to-day life with his wife and his kid. He's obviously got a really loving relationship with his wife. She seems to work. She does like work for the school, like crossing guard and stuff, but she also kind of is a seamstress and sews and makes dresses on the side for people that she knows in her life for various events. And they have this really kind of warm relationship. And he is starting to coax her into the idea that they maybe should get a new house, because obviously he's seen this house. He likes this house, and he's kind of thinking, we're getting older. This could be our dream to even get a nicer place. And their place is actually nice. It's humble, but it's crowded. And he's feeling that crowding. And he's kind of saying, our kid, and this is kind of a common thing in modern society, in America or wherever, our kid is older and, he's doing his thing. He's a good kid, but we don't really know if he's going to ever go anywhere. He might be living with us forever. This is kind of the way we are right now. So maybe we should get a bigger place. So, and even then, he's not hating on his kid. There's that kind of cross of disappointment, but also hopes. And he wants his kid to do more, but he also seems to love his kid a lot. And he's deciding that we should maybe think about getting a new house. This could be a great thing for us. Now, that's your basic setup. That's the basic kind of family dynamic. What really is the specialty of this movie, or what is the special spark of this movie, is it just has no problem just sitting with our characters and really watching them in their lives. So you get to see him on the job and the weirdness of things that might happen on the job, as far as he's got Haitian heritage. He works with other Black people of different heritages, but he also works with Hispanic people of different heritages, and how even on that work site, there can be tensions based on race. There can be tensions based on who gets the job and who doesn't get the job, because these jobs aren't forever. Sometimes they'll have a job for, demolishing a house, and then the guy will say, hey, next Wednesday, I only need 4 of you. I don't need all of you. You're going to come to the next job. So there's kind of you want to get the jobs keep coming to you, because all of a sudden you may not have income. So there's following his day-to-day life on the job. There's a sequence in there where you just follow his wife. You just follow Esperanza's day, and you just watch her and what she's doing. And then there's a point you kind of have the kid just kind of coming in and out of their house, and you kind of get the idea, like I said before, they're kind of disappointed, but they're also kind of hoping for him, and he's kind of a good kid, but maybe he's a little aimless. And then there's a point where you actually follow him, and you see what he's doing, and you kind of see what his hopes and dreams are. And it's not a huge sequence. It's maybe like a 15-minute segment. But it's really cool that the movie decides it will veer with him too. So you really flesh out these characters. You have another sequence, it's probably about 15 minutes long, where they all just go to a family member's party for their, it's not the christening, and I forget what it's called, confirmation, I think it is, for a daughter. And they have kind of a yard party, and you just get to hang out and live in the world of that party while you're getting to know the characters even more. And I will say there is kind of an ongoing, there isn't much of a tension, I would say, but there is something that's happening in the community, and something that he's dealing with between his job and the community that is weighing on him a bit. And there is I wouldn't say it's a twist per se, but there's a final moment of this film which kind of surprised me and hit me pretty hard. I think it's not subtle, because it's really obvious what it's getting at, but I think it's a little bit unsuspected. Maybe I should have seen it coming, because looking back, I could see it being kind of obvious. But it's a real emotional moment for the character, and a real payoff for where you've been in this movie all the way along. And by then, you're rooting so much for the characters. I think this is a really, really fine movie, especially if you like independent, really well-drawn family character dramas, I think this is quite excellent. If that's not your cup of tea, this probably still won't be your cup of tea, but you should probably still recognize that it's really well done. So yeah, Mountains is definitely one to watch out for. It'll probably be at little art house theaters, but it will also probably pop up on streaming services really soon, a Hulu or someplace like that, which tends to get a lot of the indie releases. I would look out for Mountains because this is one that's going to kind of stay on my list for a good chunk of the year. I love this movie quite a bit. Okay, last but not least, our recommendation of the week. Well, I didn't see a bunch of other movies this week, and usually I see several things on streaming, but I just didn't get around to too much this week. But I did go to the theater with my kid and see Cuckoo, another Neon release. We just had Long Legs recently, and Cuckoo is directed by Tillman Singer, who did Lose. And if you remember Lose, that's one that Eric loves and has championed, a really weirdo indie movie, horror-ish adjacent, kind of mind-bendy. And I've seen it too, and I like it quite a bit as well. I think it was on Shudder, if I remember correctly. I don't know if it still is. I should have checked. But it's probably one of those movies that by now you can probably find in a few places. But if you haven't looked at it, and this isn't Lose, the Flower of Evil. This is just Lose, L-U-Z. Look in that movie. It's a really weird one. If you like weirdo movies, it's not going to be an easy one to comprehend, but it has some really interesting stuff. So Cuckoo, by the way, in this, I might allow spoilers because Eric has already done it. Actually, Eric hasn't. Eric might be doing a review this week. He might have already done it. I don't know. You might have heard it already. Greg did a review last week of this movie. And I would say mostly I agree with his review. So if you want a spoiler-free review, go ahead and check that last episode of CinemAddicts or see the YouTube video that's been isolated of Greg's review. Like I'd say, I would pretty much co-sign. I might be a tiny bit higher, but I'm right in the same ballpark as him. He was a 4-star on it. I might be 4 to 4.5 stars on it. So Greg, I think, was pretty much right on and giving you enough reasons that you should check it out. I would agree with what he said. But here, I'm just going to give you my basic take on it, too. Once again, you have Hunter Schafer here as Gretchen. She's kind of I think she's like the 17-year-old daughter / stepdaughter. Essentially, she's taken by her dad, stepmom, and stepsister. They're all going to basically kind of vacation in the German Alps at this resort. The reason they're going there is her dad is involved in the designing, and they're planning a new resort for the same owners. So while he's helping them plan this new resort, they're going to all basically stay at this mountain lodge area. And the dynamic is that Gretchen, her mom has recently died. She's been living with her mom, it looks like, in America for ever and ever and ever. But she is going to be with them because mom's gone, obviously, and she's kind of not happy. She's kind of the sullen teenager. She's playing in a band. She doesn't want to be there. She's kind of checked out. She doesn't really care too much about her little stepsister. So she's kind of just stuck at this resort. The thing that you don't quite get, unless you've watched the trailers or unless you've watched the movie, is as they roll up, they meet the head of the resort, Herr Koenig, who just immediately sounds like he would be like a Nazi in hiding in Argentina or something. Of course, they're not. They're in the German Alps. They're in Germany, apparently. But Herr Koenig is like the grandkid of a Nazi or something. He just, even though that's not officially what he is, he just has that very over the top, well, hello, I am here. This is played by Dan Stevens, and he really hams it up quite a bit. And from the get-go, he is creepy and weird and smarmy and just he's up to no good. They're not even pretending like he's a nice normal guy, and you're gonna discover later that he's a weirdo. No, he's a weirdo right out the gate. Anyway, they come there and you've got Gretchen bored, nothing to do. So obviously, he's like, well, I'll give you a job at the front desk. You can help out. And she goes to do that. And once again, it's weirdo from the get-go. Everything around is strange, the people are weird. The only people that seem to walk into the desolate place at night are medical patients that stumble in and start vomiting on things. And you're like, what is happening? And I didn't mention the very opening sequence is you have an unrelated quick little sequence at the lodge where you see a person and you hear a weird screeching in the woods, and then someone runs off into the forest, and that's kind of a harbinger of what's going to happen. So you know that there's something strange happening at this place, even before you arrive with Gretchen and then the family. Anyway, one thing leads to another, and essentially you're in this weirdo world. Once again, the cinematography is really great. I didn't look it up, technical stuff, but it looks to me like it's filmed on film. It has that depth and grain to it and vibrance of the colors. It just feels like film to me, and I really love the look of this movie. This also feels to me, thematically, like one of those movies, and this is why I gravitate towards this movie a little bit more than some people might. Some people might find this movie kind of silly. I kind of love two things. I love normal people going to a place where obviously something really strange is happening and everyone knows it, but no one's saying anything. So like you go to the weird town, you go to the weird whatever, and you're the normal person in the weird place, and you have to discover what weird conspiracy or what weird thing's going on. I like those kind of movies. Wicker Man, that kind of stuff. I also like mad scientist movies. Mad scientist creating creature movies. And this movie is one kind of that. Because, of course, what she just comes to discover is that Herr Koenig has been cultivating cuckoos, not really cuckoos, but some kind of weird creature, kind of a humanoid creature that's not really quite human, but almost human, that lives in the mountains there. And they do this, now this is where it's going to sound super bonkers because I'm telling you some of the things, where they can make this strange screeching sound, and by doing that they can put you into a time loop and kind of freeze you mentally, so they can come in and stun you. And when they stun you, they can impregnate you or implant an egg into you like a cuckoo, so you have to raise their kid, so you raise one of their creatures instead of your actual child. And that's the weird mystery that Gretchen slowly uncovers. But as she's doing it, she's getting beat to hell. Everything that's around every corner, someone's hurting her in some way. Anyway, I'm not going to get all the details. As you can see, just enough that I gave you should tell you, like, this is a weirdo movie. This is a movie that makes no logical sense. This is one where you have to take some big leaps and buy this crazy scenario. And I think it's a lot of fun to watch, because what it really ends up being is like a mystery of our main character trying to uncover this conspiracy of a mad scientist, and she's stuck in the mad scientist's lair. Now, if you can enjoy it on those terms, I think you're going to really enjoy this movie, which I did. If you can't enjoy it on those terms and it sounds cockamamie and preposterous to you, then you are not going to enjoy this movie at all. You're going to think it's silly and dumb, and you're going to be like, why did I spend all my time listening to this screeching and watch this dumbness? So I guess that would be what I would say to anyone who, for some reason, has listened to this and now knows what the movie's about. Even knowing what it's about, I mean, it does ruin a little bit as far as like what is actually going on, but it doesn't really ruin the experience, I don't think, because the path to get there is still weird and windy and odd, and you meet characters, unusual characters all the way along. And the central role played by Hunter Schafer of Gretchen is so well done. She is like angsty teen to the nth degree, but she also is like a lot of angsty teens at her heart. She's grasping for love. Like, you have this constant thing in the movie where she's calling the answering machine where her mom had left a message, and just so she can leave a message to her obviously dead mom, she can leave a message there, and that's kind of her way to try to keep that contact and try to allay her sadness and still have that connection, because she has no connection with her step family. And I think that core, that heart of this movie is kind of pulls it forward. Her performance and that core emotion is kind of something that kind of grounds you within all of the weirdness. And I will give one last thing, and that is, that would make it sound like, oh, here's another horror is dealing with grief movie. Yes, I guess a little bit in here, but I really don't think that's how this movie operates. This is more of like one side it's basically, like I said, mad scientist movie, person stuck in a weird mad scientist situation, conspiracy. And on the other side, it's actually more about her learning to connect with somebody. Because I think when you think of angsty teenagers and all that kind of stuff, that's the combination of closing yourself off the world because you're feeling so much, and you just kind of lash out by pushing people away. So really, this movie is about her being able to finally connect. And I'll leave it at that because I don't want to spoil that part of the movie. But that is kind of the real thematic, I guess, through line of this movie. It's about connection and about her discovering how she can connect within this weirdness. That is what ultimately happens. And I've heard a lot of people, and I think even Greg said, didn't really like the third act that much. Because I think Greg said, and I could be wrong here, I think Greg said it devolved into a little bit too weird and convoluted, although I actually think it explains a lot in the final act. And I think William Lindis from Movie Bears podcast, hope you're getting better soon, William. I know you've been having a tough time. We are thinking about you, by the way. I think William didn't really like it so much. I think he didn't like the third act because I'm not remembering. I don't want to put words in his mouth. I know it didn't work for him. I ended up really kind of liking quite a bit. First of all, it does tend to tell you what's going on. But then one thing that works really well is there's kind of this showdown. And it would seem at first to be kind of this classic, almost like a shootout. Like, you got a good guy on one side of the room and a bad guy on the other side of the room. And they're going to see who's going to kill whom, right? Who's going to make it out alive. And it is a little bit of that, but it's a three-way standoff. And the way that three-way standoff resolves, I really liked how they figured out how to resolve that three-way standoff. And I thought that was pretty clever. And it also was, well, it was both clever and it was satisfying within the action moment and the kind of resolution of what was physically happening in that scene, but also was intertangled with the emotional or character denouement. Ooh, denouement. Yeah, the character wrap up, the character resolution was resolved in how they solved that physical problem. So I think writing-wise, that was a real kind of smart way of putting everything together. And I thought that made it very satisfying, like narratively, for me. I guess not so much for some people. So anyway, yeah, I think I'm going to come down. I'm talking myself up to 4.5 stars on this one. I like this movie quite a bit. I think it's interesting to see two movies, this one and Longlegs, that involves the concept of cuckoo, but in very different ways. But the fact that they both have the idea of a cuckoo as some of a metaphorical horror, I don't know. Anyway, pretty cool movie. Check it out. No one's going to see this in the theaters, as far as I can tell. This is the opposite of Longlegs. Longlegs was this kind of weird moment of everyone kind of being like interested in something at the same time, and some people hating it and some people loving it, but everyone going and seeing it. And I don't think anyone's going and seeing Cuckoo. I don't think anyone even knows halfway what it is. I saw it in an almost abandoned theater on a Monday night in a kind of weird town. And my kid and I thought it was very fitting to see this movie there in that setting. And in fact, we walk in and it was almost desolate. And to see this movie in a desolate theater, and then just to walk up to the one person at the desk, at the counter, all the popcorn, all the stuff up there, no one's buying anything. There's one lone teller to buy the tickets from. It was almost like you were going to an isolated place to watch this movie. And the one person we just bought, we said for Cuckoo, I almost felt like embarrassed, like ordering the tickets, and buying the tickets. And then she just looked up and said, like, yeah, it's a good movie. And that was it. We went in and watched it. So anyway, I'm going to go back into my box here in the attic, the CinemAddicts, and have a good week, everybody. We will bring you some more stuff next week. Most likely all of us, at least some of us, will go see Alien Romulus, which has been a big, exciting movie for people. I am cautiously optimistic that it might be good. Hopefully it is. I at least will hope that it's a good foray back into the Alien universe, which I do love. All right. Have a great week, everybody.